Alexer, if you were suddenly broke today, no money, no resources, no connections, what would you do to get rich? Well, going from rags to riches definitely isn't easy, but it is 100% possible, and when you look at the people who've actually done it, you'll find they all follow a very similar pattern. All you have to do is follow it. So today, we're showing you the 10-step roadmap anyone can take to go from poor to rich, backed by real stories by those who've done it. All right, so the first step to go from zero to wealthy is to escape survival mode, right? But what exactly is that? Well, take David Goggins, for example. He was born into poverty with a severe learning disability. His abusive father terrorized him, and he was often the victim of racial discrimination. For him, every day was a fight just to survive, to eat, and to stay safe. If you're spending all of your time worrying about questions like, how will I pay rent? Where is my next meal coming from? And how do I avoid getting hurt? Well, you are in survival mode. All you're doing all of the time is reacting to whatever crisis life throws at you next, which means you've got no energy left for planning, for dreaming, for actually building wealth. But look at Goggins. He decided to change his mindset from reactive to proactive. For him, this meant confronting his childhood trauma, taking control of his physical health, building mental discipline, and seeing challenges as opportunities, not threats. And now look at him. People call him the toughest man on the planet. So escaping survival mode isn't just about money, okay? It's about making sure your brain isn't always in fight or flight mode, so you can focus on the bigger picture here. For you, that might mean moving to a new city, quitting bad habits, or just all around adopting a new mindset. Once you can do that, you can finally open your mind up to all the other ways that you can really change your life. Step 2 is to take responsibility for everything. Now, at this point in your journey, you're not constantly panicking about rent or where your next meal is coming from, but this is where most people fall into a dangerous trap. They escape survival mode only to get trapped in victim mode. That's why step 2 is to take responsibility for everything. Look at J.K. Rowling. At her lowest point, she was a single mother on welfare, battling depression and barely scraping by. Her life was painfully small. But here's where everything changed. Rowling stopped waiting. She stopped hoping somebody would recognize her potential, and she made a decision to take ownership of her life and write the book that she'd always dreamed of. She didn't have an office, so she wrote in cafes while her daughter napped. She didn't have connections, so she sent her manuscript to dozens of publishers. She didn't have money, but she did have a story, and she knew it was her job to bring it to life. That's what responsibility looks like in real life. It's not loud or glamorous, it's not sexy for sure. It says, this is my life, and I am not giving up on it. Because when you take responsibility, that is when you stop just reacting to the world and you start creating. And that is the shift you have to make at this stage, from passive to active, from hoping to building. All right, so now that you've taken full ownership of your life, the next step is kind of obvious. Define exactly what you want. Take famous Shark Tank investor Daymond John. So when he worked at his local Red Lobster, he wasn't just daydreaming about success, he was imagining FUBU with surgical precision, mapping out exactly what his brand would stand for, who it would serve, and how it would change culture. Most people get this completely wrong. They say vague things like, I want to be successful, or I want financial freedom. But that's not a vision. That is a wish. The wealthiest people in the world don't have better luck, okay? They've just defined success so precisely that even their failures move them forward. A real vision has edges, okay? It has detail. I want to build a clothing brand that represents urban culture and reaches $100 million in sales. That is a vision with power behind it. Because clarity isn't just knowing what you want, it's being so specific that your brain has no choice but to start solving that puzzle of how to get there. And of course, that means you're one step closer to building wealth. All right, so by the time you reach step 4, it's time to learn a valuable skill. So by now you've stopped reacting to life and you've defined exactly what you want from it. But what good is a vision without the ability to execute it? That's why step 4 is learning that valuable skill. Take Chris Gardner, for example, the man whose life inspired the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. So while he was homeless, sleeping in train station bathrooms with his young son, he was studying finance manuals by day and practicing his pitch on payphones. Gardner didn't just want a better life, he trained for it relentlessly. So when he was finally given a chance at becoming a stockbroker, he'd already become someone Wall Street couldn't ignore. Most people stay broke because they think being passionate is enough. It's not, okay? Saying I want to be rich is a fantasy. But saying I will master high-income skills that solve real problems, that is a strategy. So now ask yourself, what skills will turn your vision into reality? Coding? Sales? Copywriting? Choose one, obsess over it, master it, and you'll never fear poverty again. All right, so once you've got your skills that you can earn with, the next step, step 5 to becoming wealthy, is to start saving and managing your money. And because of the skills you've built, now you've got some money, right? But this is actually where a lot of people crash and burn. Take Shaquille O'Neal, for example. He spent his first paychecks from the NBA on cars, jewelry, and extravagant gifts for his family and friends. One day he walked into the bank, expecting to see millions, only to discover he'd blown through nearly everything. Thankfully, for Shaq, this was a wake-up call. After this, he educated himself financially and built systems like automatic transfers, investment accounts, and a financial team to protect him from his impulses. Today, Shaq is worth over $400 million, not just from basketball, but from the discipline that turned skills into lasting wealth. So once you've got a bit of money coming in, find ways to keep as much of it as you can. But again, this is where most people fall into a trap. Once they've got a job or career, they get stuck there trading their time for money and never managing to increase their income. That's why step 6 on your journey to wealth is to escape the time for money trap. Warren Buffett understood this when he was just 15 years old. While other teens were working hourly jobs, he was placing pinball machines in barber shops around town, collecting quarters while he sat in class. That wasn't a side hustle, okay? It was his first lesson in the principle that would make him a billionaire. Your money should work harder than you do. For Buffett, those pinball machines eventually became stocks. Those stocks became companies, and those companies became empires. But the core principle remained unchanged. He built systems where his money and assets were hard at work while he was thinking, sleeping, and living his life. For you, today, this might look like launching a digital product, building an online store with automated fulfillment, or hiring people and delegating parts of your business. The point is, your time is limited, okay? Which means you can work harder, longer hours, develop better skills, and earn more per hour, but if your only source of income is your time, you will always have a hard income ceiling. And plus, you'll be selling the one thing you can never buy back, your time. If you're still exchanging hours for dollars, you're not building wealth. You are maintaining it. So ask yourself what parts of your income could be turned into a repeatable, scalable process. It might start small, but once you get it going, you'll realize you're not just working a job anymore, you are designing a machine.